Hey, Team Texas, Coach Keenum here with Coach Kinard, and we're going to talk about leadership boards. You know, one of the questions that you guys have asked is, how do we recruit board members? What do we look for? What are the kind of people that we get, and how do we get them engaged? And Terry's been great at that here in the South Plains, and he's going to talk a little bit about how we do that. So my first question to you, Terry, is what do you look for in a board member?
Well, you know, Steve, let me tell you, when we talk about FCA and we talk about this word influence, the influence of coaches on athletes, the influence that athletes have on non-athletes in school, you look for influential people in your community. That's who you look for, because what they're going to do is they're going to multiply your efforts through their influence. I mean, think about it. If they know 10 people that can give $100 a month and they'll use that influence, wow.
Yeah. You made $12,000 a year.
Yeah.
So you talk about influencers. Where do you look for those folks?
Well, I will tell you, you're going to know some if you've been in the community. However, we started with just 4 board members. But those 4 board members were very, very, very influential in our area. And we took recommendations from them, people they work with, people they go to church with, that they know are committed people who have influence, highly respected. And then we began sitting down and talking to them one at a time.
So when you talk about vetting a board member,
yeah,
how do you determine if they really fit? What's one thing or 2 things that in your vet process, if you were going to write it on the board, what would that be?
Well, I will tell you, it's been a practice of ours. It's not written down or anywhere that if the board chair can go and meet with this person, with the area director and any other officers that want to show up. Sometimes we've had 4 officers in a meeting. Sometimes it's just me and the board chair. But the first thing we want to do is sit down and explain to them our ministry, which they probably already know. But the first question we ask of them is, share your testimony with us. And then say, the second question is, why would you want to serve on this board? And just let them do a lot of that talking. We explain to them the commitment that they're making, that they'll be a part of a board that forms their own rules, not the area director's rules, that we write out a covenant of our expectations of each other, our board. It's not Terry's expectations of them, it's their expectations. What is expected of you?
The first thing you said a minute ago was people that have influence.
Yes.
And then you said we meet individually with the recommendation from our board.
Yes.
And so you talked about.
We're going to go vet.
Yeah, you're going to go vet.
Okay.
And in that vetting process, you're going to ask them why they want to serve.
What's their heart for Jesus, number 1?
Right.
What's their understanding of FCA, number 2? Why would they want to serve, number 3? And if they understand that they're making a commitment to time, to expectations. What we learned, you know what, Steve, what we learned early on is that some people say, yes, I want to do this, but they don't understand the time commitment. Because Wade Hopkins told me a long time ago, ask every board member, can you place this in your top 3 priorities?
So top 3.
Yep. And let me tell you, what I didn't understand for a while is, actually for a year, I came back and asked Wade, how can that be? I mean, my top 3 priorities are God, my family, my church, and then there's my job. How does the board fit? He goes, well, Terry, for any Christian, those first 3, your family, your faith, your family, your job, those are in there. That's priority number 1. So can they serve on some community board or something like that? But the other one, can that be FCA?
Okay.
So commitment.
And then you talked about the covenant. You talked about making the covenant.
Our covenant, let me tell you, Wade had given me just a outline.
Right.
And to me, let me tell you, how you crunch out minutia is you get smaller groups of people. So we formed an executive board, an executive team.
Tell us that executive team.
An executive team consists of the area director, your 4 officers, and then as we begin to build staff and we encourage those staff to get their own support team, they have a captain. Each one of our staff's captains serve on staff.
Staff's captain's big thing.
And so we have great communication going on. We have great communication going on between the staff's teams, support teams, which may or not be on our board or not. But that captain's always going to be on our board. He's going to be on our executive team. And a lot of the minutia we crunch out there,
Okay.
as we did with our covenant.
You said 4 members of the executive team.
Mhm.
How big do you want your board?
You know what? I want my board just as big as it wants to be. Right now, we've got 32.
32.
Think of 32 people. Number one, they decided that it's each board's responsibility to raise $3,000 a year. Whether they donate it out of their pocket, their business, or they go get that. Well, multiply 32 people times 3,000.
Yeah.
Right there, there's your salary.
$96,000.
Your salary plus a lot of other stuff. So we use smaller groups because small gives you time. And when we come to the big
You
board,
better write time right there so we remember that.
when we get to the big board meeting, every action item that we have, our executive team meets 2 weeks before board meeting. We crunch out all the minutia. And every action item comes from our executive team. So an action item would be the executive team recommends.
Right.
It's never the area director, it's the executive team recommends this. We also tell the board that you're invited to come in. You can attend any executive team meeting. We're transparent if you want to. You'll see that we answer all these small questions. So it takes out all those. Have you thought about this? Did y'all consider this? They know that happens.
All right, Terry, we got about a minute left.
Okay.
Recap for everybody your most important thing as it relates to
Find
boards.
influential people. Now, I will tell you something we didn't talk about was that we invited people who realized after a year they didn't have the time. We formed an ACT team. That's a 1-year tryout period for a board member.
Okay. You might write that right there. 1-year tryout.
And at the end of that 1 year, we vote on them because what they get to see that way in that 1 year is what is expected of me. And the board gets to see how many events did they show up for? Did they do this, do that, do that? So after a year, most of our board members go on. Some of them come back and say, Terry, I didn't realize the time commitment. I don't have it.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Texas, there's lots of great information in 8.5 minutes right here. We hope you're blessed by it. I know Terry would be happy to answer any questions if you want to reach out to him. God bless you.
Amen.